Okay, there we
There we
go.
go.
So here we're back after a long break for another Uncertain Dots.
Yep,
been
it
a
was
while.
a long end of year break for exams and conferences and all sorts of stuff like that. But
You know, it's just for me. I'm teaching summer classes, and it's just boom in your face. So
yeah, do you guys do a shorter session in the summer? I know some places they'll do like a 6 week semester course or something.
well, ours is 8. You can do. They have a. I think you can do a 1 week. We don't do that in physics though.
Yeah,
An interim course, and then we have 2 months. We have June and July, and that's term 1 and term 2. So some courses are just in June and then just in July, and then some are June plus July. So we do in physics, we do June plus July, but it's 8 weeks, so it's twice as fast as normal physics.
yeah. So it's 8 weeks less the 4th of July.
Right.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be pretty brutal. Somebody described like doing semester of the algebra-based pre-med class in like a month, or
Yeah.
like 3 weeks or something.
Well,
So
this is
they met for 3 hours every day.
yeah. Well, I mean, okay. So this is the algebra-based course. They meet an hour and 15 minutes, 4 days a week. We don't have class on Friday. And so, you have class on Monday and then Tuesday. That's a week right there. And you have to do a week's worth of homework.
Yeah.
And I have to do a week's worth of finding stuff to do. It's just, I don't have time. There's no time in between classes. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the really big, the big issue. Even just in a regular term, we're always either Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the end of that is just brutal because we do the sort of studio format, so we'll frequently mix labs in and into the class periods and do lecturing during the lab period, and so we have, I could probably look it up, but we have 10 weeks of class. I think I had over 30 sets of lecture notes that I put together and put online this term. I had 31, and that's with missing the last week entirely. So I was away at a conference for our 10th week of classes, so I didn't put together any lecture notes for that. So.
I mean, normally what I do if I'm going to miss, I try to, record something and post it online, and so I don't know that they watch it, but they could, so I can account for all the time. Actually today I did that. I have class from 10:30 to 11:45, and I was like, there's a soccer match on at 11, so maybe we could watch that. So I had
the
half an hour
sure.
class, and then I put some lecture material online, some videos, but the students that came, they kept asking questions. I'm like, the game's on, let's go. But I missed some of it, but
Yeah, we just have summer research students, but we took one of the classrooms and put the ESPN stream of the game up on the projector in one of our classrooms, and so we had half a dozen of us in there watching it. And
it is nice they have these things online now. You can watch it on your phone or whatever, and
yeah, it was a little iffy. You had to every so often it would freeze up for a little while and then resume from that point. So by the time by the time the game ended, we were probably 2 minutes behind real time. So,
and U.S. carriers probably hate soccer because there's no commercials.
Right. So they used to. So the first World Cup I remember watching was in '90, and they would do commercials occasionally. I don't know if you watched any of those, but like only certain games. They didn't televise every single game, and they would break into the just at some point they would cut away from the match for 90 seconds, run a couple of commercials and then come back. And a couple of times during that World Cup, you came back and found out somebody had scored a goal.
Why don't they just do like a YouTube type commercial with a little banner bar at the bottom and just put that? They could do that, right?
They did. I think ESPN has gotten somebody or FIFA got somebody to just pony up a vast amount of cash for this. I remember there have been previous ones where they, like under the score box, had a little, this match presented commercial free courtesy of AT&T or something. So, then you had an AT&T logo on the score box for the entire game. But I think ESPN or FIFA has swung some deal where they're not doing that. So, man, they pack the commercials in at halftime, though.
Yeah, they do. Quick, get them in. Get them. That's the only time they got, right?
Here's 6 words from Alexi Lalas, and now a commercial.
Yeah, because you got to do 2 things. You want to do commentary and commercials, but the commercials are what pays. So.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Michael Ballack is one of the most boring people in the world, so don't actually need him to say very much.
Right.
I don't know. It wasn't a bad game, though. So.
I thought it was a good game. I thought U.S. played better, and then towards the end, you look at the Portugal-Ghana score, and it's like, come on, USA is going to advance. They're going to have to. I mean, there's no way, Portugal's going to score what they had to score 3 more goals.
Yeah,
in the
Portugal
last.
Had to score 3 more. Ghana had to score 2.
Yeah, but Ghana was behind, so.
The last 10 minutes to win it. So.
Yeah.
It was. I would have liked to see him go forward with a cleaner decision, but on the other hand, as I said on Twitter, if you had told me in May that they were going to get 4 points and get out of that group, I would have said you were an idiot. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's not as good for the basic physicsy posts though as the Olympics was.
No, well, the Olympics you have a wide variety of things. I actually do have a soccer post. I was up late last night trying to get it to work, and I don't know, didn't. So I'm still working on it, but.
So you do like VPython soccer?
No, it's not VPython. I don't want to. You know what? I could spoil it, right? Because there's no one listening, right? And they're not gonna steal my idea.
Yeah. Because if you couldn't get it to work last night, nobody else is gonna get it to work in time.
No, they probably can because it's probably just me being dumb. So, I'm making a plot of the angular size of the goal from different parts of the field. And so I wanted to make either a heat map or a contour map or something like that of the angular size.
Oh, that's why you were asking for Plotly contour maps.
And I still don't get Plotly because I think Plotly only does a heat map based on a distribution, not actual XY coordinates. So it's like it doesn't really matter what your values are. It just does it's the equivalent of a line plot instead of a scatter plot.
Oh.
But maybe I don't understand it enough. So I'm just going to plot it with Matplotlib. But
yeah.
But the thing I want to know is, where can you be such that you could put up a human wall and completely make it so you can't see the goal?
Right.
You could still curve the ball around, but.
Yeah. So if you put all 10 people, 10 meters away, where can they be in completely obscure goal?
Well, and even though. I mean, I don't think they've ever put 10, have they?
No, you'd be crazy to because
they usually put 5, right?
Yeah, if that. I think 5 is about the most you'll ever see.
Yeah. And then so after that, I was again last night. I'm like, oh, I need a soccer picture. Well, I could try to find a World Cup picture and get permission, or I just use my own picture, right?
Or you have 300 pictures of your kids playing.
That's right. So I'm looking through. I want one with a goal in the picture. Well, I don't have a lot of pictures of the goal, so I finally, I was like, I'll just leave it off, and if they want to add a picture at the end, they pick their own picture. So if Wired wants to put a picture, they can put a picture. So,
Yeah.
which usually they would do. So.
Yeah. I don't know. It's been good tournament so far.
Oh yeah.
Very entertaining. So.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it a lot. You know, watching all the different matches. The one thing I can't do is when I'm driving, listen to it on the radio. I just
it's
can't.
A terrible radio sport.
It is. It
really
is. I mean, baseball is perfect for the radio, right?
Yeah, baseball
anyway.
And football works pretty well too because there's so much.
And they pause, right? They have time to set up the play. They have time to say what happened in the play. But there's no plays in soccer the same way. So and plus, I think I'm pretty good with football, so I can kind of visualize in my mind when they say what's happening. I can correlate that with what's actually happening.
Yeah. The one there's a bit in a Bill Bryson book, the book about Australia, where he talks about driving from some god awful distance in Australia, across the middle of nowhere, and how comforting it was to listen to cricket on the radio. And so didn't understand anything about what was happening in the game of cricket, but it's just very soothing commentary the whole way. The baseball radio that we get up here, I occasionally listen to bits of Yankee games, but they have this Susan Waldman who does commentary for them. She has a voice you could use to etch diamond. It's just really sharp, nasally, thick, like Brooklyn accent, and just really grating to me. So that undermines the experience of listening to baseball on the radio.
I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I'll watch it. I'll watch the Yankees, but
yeah. The only time I was ever made a real point of paying attention to baseball was the year I was in Japan in the fall, and it was the Yankees versus the Padres. I think it was fall of '98, and then the games were on about when I would wake up in the morning. The games started, like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and so I would listen to it while I was getting ready to go to work, and that worked out really nice.
That's what's so nice about World Cup in Brazil, same time zone, right?
I actually kind of liked the ones where when it was in Japan and Korea, and they were on like in the morning, because it was the same deal. I could get up and just have a sort of slow breakfast in front of the soccer game, and that was very relaxing. But I haven't been able to put the time into it because I'm reviewing copy edits on my book, so I have to get those back tomorrow.
Do you hate that as much as I do?
If you ever want to feel like an illiterate goober, just get a professional copy editor to go over a couple hundred pages of stuff that you wrote.
You just do this? Confirm.
Okay. You're absolutely right. That's a terrible sentence.
And although, I hate Microsoft Word. Hate it. But, I mean, it does have that track edit things, but, I mean, I'd just rather not use it at all, Yeah. So, I hate it.
Yeah, it's not my favorite program. Every now and then it kicks into these weird, it guesses what it is that I'm trying to do, and will do things where, like, suddenly all the margins will go weird. And it's like,
I don't care.
Undo.
The margins do whatever they want. I don't care, because it's all about the text, so...
Yeah.
I mean, personally, if I'm writing with someone else, I love Google Docs. Have you written something with Google Docs?
I haven't done anything substantial with it. We've used it for a few things on campus for shared documents, but nothing really major. So
I like it. They have a little chat window in there. You can both type at the same time. It does track changes.
Yeah.
You know, and it's online. You don't have to worry about where did I put that dumb file. And that's the other thing I hate with edits. You know, version A, version A-1, version A124 on 1938. And you know, this Rhett's edit, Tom's edits, and so on. Just
Yeah. Yeah, I have a couple of them that are you know, paper that I wrote with a collaborator was up to like 15 drafts going back and forth and just increment the number every time. That was miserable. Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of editing. And that's what's nice about writing a blog, right?
Yeah, it is.
Plow forward. You just plow ahead.
And you get to be much more conversational and don't have to worry about, you know, there's some distinction between though and however that I don't understand why the copy editor keeps wanting to replace one with the other.
Then just do it.
I just
can't tell the difference. It doesn't matter.
The weirdest was so I sold the first book, the Quantum for Dogs. We sold translation rights to a company in the UK, and they did a very thorough rewrite of it to correct things to UK spelling.
To Queen's English.
Yeah, it was like, and then you know, so I got 200 printed pages of, here's the changes that we made to your manuscript, and I'm like, you paid $1,500 to translate this from English to English. Go nuts. So,
they just added E's on the ends of some things like color and
yeah, it's some
and they respelled
vowels. The one change I'm told was substantive. Was they use yard to mean like a large paved area, and garden to mean like your lawn. Right?
Okay.
So I talk about the dog, letting the dog out into the yard to chase rabbits.
Garden.
And then they changed all of those to garden.
Well, Scotland Yard, right? That's not a garden. It's
I was like, okay, yeah, sure. Change it.
Well, I don't really care. So
I did object to the dog always refers to bunnies, and they had changed every instance of bunny to rabbit.
But doesn't bunny mean something in English? Something's like a
They said it sounds childish, and I was like,
and you're right. It's like it's a dog.
That was a deliberate stylistic choice.
Right.
It sounds childish to Americans too.
Right. And to dogs are childish. That's the point.
So,
I
got to do final versions of the figures and get those in tomorrow. That's the one that's just going to be even worse than copy editing. It's going to be, converting between image formats and getting the resolution right, and I have things that I'm sure something will turn out to be in color. It needs to be grayscale, and it just ends up being an enormous headache.
Did you make all the figures yourself?
Yeah, there's one exception. The one exception is a figure from a paper in Transactions of the Royal Society in 1798 that I think is safely out of copyright. So I think
life plus 70, right? So it depends if the guy lived a long time. Plus 70.
I'm fairly confident that I can use that one. Mm-hmm. So, but so I made all of them, or I got. There's one other that somebody sent me. A guy I know, sent me a copy of the figure, and so I have it with his explicit permission to use it. So it's only about 6 or 8 figures in the whole book.
Okay.
So
better that way. But that's again what's nice about the blog. You throw figures in there, which I'm not going to take anyone's figures, but it's easy to put those figures in there. Or
you can at least you can like link to the source and properly attribute them, and it's pretty low impact.
But I think the new idea is you shouldn't even link it unless you get the permission. And if you want to put something in your post, you're supposed to get permission. That's what they tell us. So
I was talking to a colleague who's in music, who's writing a textbook, and wants to have a like a CD of here are the the proper versions of these songs that I'm discussing, and she studies Japanese music. So not only is she trying to get permissions for things from the music industry, which is there's two different groups of people who have to be paid for every song that you use, but it's in two different countries. So it's this nightmare of the process of tracking down who has the rights and who gets paid for each of these things is just driving her nuts.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So yeah, I'm really glad I don't have to deal with the some people complain about the publishing industry. The music industry is just mind-bogglingly corrupt.
No, you're right. I think you're right. So I wrote a blog post last week, I guess. Had a comment from Neil deGrasse Tyson on there.
Really?
Yeah.
So
he said I was wrong. He said I was wrong. So
you're second order famous.
Yeah. So, but he was very polite about saying I was wrong. Unlike Sal Khan, who was very impolite about me being wrong. So when I was actually right. So.
Yeah. Well, he was actually kind of snide when he responded to that whole dumb philosophy thing.
Did he reply to your post?
No, he left a comment on my blog quite a while ago. I reviewed one of his books and said, there was a reference that, the last line of this one chapter was really cryptic, and I didn't understand what that was referring to. And he left a comment that said, it's in the third paragraph of that chapter. There's a reference to this. It's a callback to that. And I was like,
but if you didn't get it, then it wasn't a very good callback.
Well, yeah, but no, he hasn't weighed in on my mild disappointment with Cosmos.
Yeah. So, mine was about Cosmos too. So.
Yeah. What did you say?
I said, he said that in his case for dark matter, he said that as planets orbit the sun, they get further away. There's less gravitational force, so they go slower. And I said, that's technically true in this case, but it's a very dangerous thing to say because, the idea that force equals velocity is what everyone wants to say anyway. And so you're kind of reinforcing that, I think, negative idea. So.
Yeah, that's. I did see you saying that. I didn't see what his comment was.
He said that. He said, well, yes, but everything that we say is incorrect anyway, so it's okay. And I'm trying to make a point that something weird's happening. And, my reply was, you can point out that it's weird without trying to emphasize the ideas people have that are already very wrong. And those ideas of force equals motion I think they're big problems. That's a big barrier for a whole sorts of people getting into physics. It's one of the biggest barriers I have. And so when you say that, and it kind of reinforces that idea.
Yeah, there's a chapter in the book in Process about exactly that, talking about Vera Rubin and galaxy rotation curves and the exact same problem. And so I've had to write that same thing, and I think I tried to phrase it as this thing is moving this fast, and because it's moving this, because we measure the speed at which these stars are moving, and because of that, we know that it would take this much force to bend it into a circular orbit, and there just isn't enough matter there to be producing that much force if you only look at the stuff
right.
That's light.
Yeah, that's fine. That's completely different than saying, oh well, and we know that less force means it goes slower.
Yeah.
He could have just said, we know how fast these things should go, and they're not doing what we expect. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, and that it is true that the gravitational force drops off, and and if you looked at it, you would expect that force to be getting weaker, and so then these things ought to be flying apart, and they're clearly not. So, I guess it's conceivable that just every galaxy we look at is in the process of ripping itself apart. We just haven't, it just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, but it is. I know it is very difficult to write these kind of things, and if you want to write that in a paragraph, that's pretty easy. But saying it in 20 words, it's like, that's
yeah.
So I mean, I wrote some of this, helped look at the stuff for that show, Science of Stupid. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen the show. I saw that you were doing stuff with them.
But I didn't get everything I wanted to say. I didn't get it my way all the time, but I know it's tough. It's tough to say something.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, that TED thing that I did last fall. I had 6 minutes to talk about quantum mechanics. Like 6 minutes is nothing.
No.
Like it is really hard to say anything in that little time.
My talk would be, hey, quantum mechanics. It's not what you expect. It's complicated. Yeah. The end.
Pretty weird.
It's pretty weird stuff.
Colorful history there.
That's the interesting thing that I was preparing for a radio show when we were talking about quantum mechanics, and someone brought up the point that quantum mechanics is really one of the first big ideas that we built as a community. It's not like this person is the father of quantum mechanics. Rather, this person made a paper, and this person built on it, and this person built on it, and there was a successive community effort, unlike everything in the past.
Yeah, it's fascinating to read about because I've read a whole bunch of histories of quantum for the book in progress, and it's not that large a community of people that were really directly responsible, and they're amazingly collegial. It's like everybody who's anybody in that business in the early part of the 20th century was communicating with each other. And they all sent letters to Pauli. So there's this wealth of historical material from the giant collection of letters that people sent to Pauli and that Pauli sent back. And it's all these you can trace out the back and forth on a lot of these ideas, and how different people influenced each other, and how everything plays out. It's really there's a sense of it, that's the precursor of the archive, right?
Yeah.
These people are all sending drafts of their papers to each other, and that kind of gets ingrained in physics more broadly, and eventually leads to to the preprint server.
I wonder if we'll have a sort of change in the future based on people don't write letters back and forth, they write blogs, right? So I wonder if
email.
Or email. Well, email would be a letter. So,
yeah.
But the difference between like a blog and an email is you write a blog and people comment on it, and it gets shared and reposted and stuff like that. So it does have features that are different than just writing a letter. But,
yeah.
It's a letter to everyone.
It's interesting to think about what historians 200 years from now are gonna. Or are they going to be just drowning in archives of digital ephemera or is a lot of this stuff going to just disappear? Because there are a lot of things that I spent a lot of time on Usenet in the mid '90s, writing stuff back and forth, and that theoretically all exists somewhere, but
NSA.
It's really hard to find it.
The NSA has it.
Yeah. So probably, but like Google bought Deja News that used to be the archive of those things, but it's like the archive that they have available to search is really crappy, and it's hard to find things that I know are there. I can find like responses to posts that I wrote, but not the post that I wrote, and all sorts of weird stuff. So it's it's interesting. There's one sense in which we're sort of generating vast amounts of online documentation of conversations and arguments and so on. But it might just be so badly managed that it'll end up being no more useful than the really patchy archives that we have from.
I think that's a great point. I think you may be right. I mean, the amount of stuff that we have is just incredible. I think the only way to really, there's a couple ways that you would fix it. One, have some type of intelligent computer system that could go through and link it and connect it and archive it in a logical way. Or another would be to have a person pick out what they think is archivable and then just delete all the cat videos or just not worry about them and kind of like organize it as you go. So I don't know what you're right. I'd be very interested to see what happens in 200 years, what they do with it.
Yeah, I hope I'm around. I can tell them what the hell are you archiving that for? It's a stupid. This week. So I don't know if you saw, somebody posted this picture of a big grid of cardboard boxes and a cat in each one, and they said something about here's how to organize your cats. And I retweeted it and just added, busy day at Schrodinger Industries to it. That has gotten like 500 retweets, and it's like 3 days later, people are still retweeting this thing.
Oh, I had that happen. Probably not that bad, but I had something that got retweeted, and it was something dumb, and and it kept. And I had to turn off my notifications on my phone. It's like all the time.
It's like the whole afternoon.
Still get retweets. I said, who's going back to a month ago and retweeting my stuff? But
it's like
it was the three quantum states of the USB drive. You plug it in once, it doesn't work. So you turn it over and you plug it in, it doesn't work. You go back and you plug it in, it works.
Yeah. So it's like. But yeah, the blog thing that I want to figure out how to do is if it's possible to, go into Twitter and get the time of all the retweets and favorites, because that's actually, for once I have enough to that there might be statistics.
Well, I looked at this, and there's a couple ways to do it. If you do it within the last 60 days, I think, or something, it's much easier. But if you want to go back further, they keep changing their APIs in order to access the data. But there's one guy, I think Leviticus. He does a Twitter physics thing. He keeps those charts.
Lucretius for the first century or something like that.
Yeah, but he or she. I don't know. Is it a she? It's a she. Let's say it's a she. It has a statue of a male person, so I thought it was, I don't know.
Right.
But let's say this person, okay, does all this stuff. I think they use, I think Perl or something. The person uses to make all. Because I asked, and I was going to do something like that, but I never got around to it.
Yeah. Now I know. I tweeted asking if there was an easy way to do it, but it was probably too early in the morning. I'll ask
not
again.
as easy as you would think. That's the problem. You would think it'd be easy.
Yeah. I'll ask again, and if I don't get a response from just fishing online, I know people who do that kind of thing.
Well, and then I did Half-Life of a retweet before, but I used Bitly, and in the past, Bitly used to have very good statistics for people that retweeted your Bitly link. But now it's just kind of, it seems like they miss a whole bunch because of the way that Twitter retweets. You can just do a straight retweet, or you can do an RT. So I think that kind of messed up Bitly. But if you Google it, you might be able to find Half-Life. I think it's called Half-Life of a tweet.
Yeah. So it would be interesting to look at. I know, I've looked once or twice at stats of individual blog posts. That because you post it and there's this basically exponential drop off over a few days, and I occasionally toy with trying to get a bunch of that data, but it's sort of annoying to get out of any of the stats packages I have access to.
Are you guys using Google Analytics or?
Yeah, and the analytics. I don't know. A couple of years ago, it got much worse. And then, and it might just be the size of the science blogs data set, like that, because I'm going back.
You don't have just your stuff.
Yeah, and well, yeah, at the time I had access to everybody's stats, which I don't anymore. So it might be a little easier now, but it was annoying. It was hard to get, because I liked doing the the year-end blog posts.
Oh, yeah.
Here are the 10 most popular posts for the year, and that got much harder to do. So, I don't know why. It's annoying.
Well, I always like to do that because it's usually around the Christmas, New Year's, holidays, and I don't have stuff to write anyway, so I just like I'll just.
Yeah. Here's a list of things that I wrote previously that you might like.
Right.
Yeah, it's like the clip show of the long-running sitcom. It's like, yeah, well, we're contracted to produce 14 episodes this season, but we're kind of tired. So here's a bunch of clips from previous shows. So.
Okay, I have too many blog tabs open. I can't find the Google Hangout right now. I lost you. You can see me, I guess, but where? Oh my gosh, this is really awkward.
If it's like a regular tab, you should see the little speaker thing next to it.
Yeah, I know, but I don't see it.
Does it have that many tabs open?
I have 2 windows with tabs. I don't see it in either one.
Well,
Here it is. I found it. It doesn't have a speaker thing. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, Hangout shows up for me as a standalone thing now.
It's just a tab for me. So.
Yeah. What do you use for browser?
Chrome.
Chrome. Yeah. So yeah, now for me these always open as a separate thing. It shows up as a different thing in the navigation bar. I
opened Safari to load for some reason the ESPN streaming works better on Safari than Chrome, but then Chrome I like it because it has built-in Flash. I never use Safari, and it's like, you have to update Flash. Like, I don't want to update Flash.
I want to watch the soccer game.
But I said no, and it played anyway, so.
Yeah, that usually works.
Yeah.
The one that's maddening to me, Java periodically will demand a complete overhaul, and there's a couple of things that I do. For classes, there's some of these applet things that I sometimes use, so I have to update that.
Java's dead to me.
And it's like, it takes forever.
And it's scary, because, I don't know if it's going to work right, and it might break something of else I use, and...
Yeah. So.
Okay, well, we've done it again. Once again, we've managed to successfully talk about nothing for quite a long time.
Yeah. Well, we've got soccer going on, so...
Yeah, I had fun.
It's easy to talk about nothing.
Right.
So.
Okay, so let's just end there. Next time, who knows what we'll talk about.
Yep. So next week, Tuesday or Thursday, do you think? Or
I don't know.
Just going to wing it on the day, too.
We're going to have to wing it.
It's that time of year.
So. We'll see you.
Okay. Till next time.
Yes.